The haunting of Harrow House. The town of Harrowville had always been a quiet place, nestled between dense woods and rolling hills. But every town has its secrets, and Harrowville's secret was Harrow House. I had heard the stories growing up. The house, a grand Victorian mansion, had been abandoned for decades, its windows boarded up, its once magnificent gardens overgrown with weeds. It was said that every Halloween, the spirits of those who had lived there would return, seeking to claim a new soul. I never believed the stories. They were just tales told to scare children, I thought. But this Halloween, I would learn the truth. It started as a dare. My friends and I, looking for some excitement, decided to spend Halloween night in Harrow House. We packed some food, flashlights, and, of course, a few bottles of liquid courage. As we approached the house, the setting sun cast long shadows, making the mansion look even more foreboding. The front door creaked open, revealing a grand entrance hall covered in dust and cobwebs. We explored the ground floor, marveling at the faded grandeur of the place. The walls were lined with portraits of the Harrow family, their eyes seeming to follow us as we moved. As night fell, we gathered in the main living room, lighting candles and telling ghost stories. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows and adding to the eerie atmosphere. It was then that we heard it, a soft, mournful melody coming from upstairs. We exchanged nervous glances. None of us had brought any musical instruments. Curiosity getting the better of us, we decided to investigate. The sound led us to a grand ballroom. In the center of the room stood a grand piano, its keys moving on their own, playing the haunting tune. We watched in stunned silence, the music echoing through the empty house. Suddenly, the room grew cold, and a dense fog began to fill the space. From the mist, figures began to emerge, men and women dressed in old-fashioned clothing, dancing to the music. They paid us no mind, lost in their eternal waltz. We backed away slowly, not wanting to disturb the ghostly gathering. But as we turned to leave, the music stopped, and the figures turned to face us, their eyes hollow, their faces twisted in anger. We ran, the spirits chasing after us, their moans and cries filling the air. We raced through the house, trying to find a way out. But every door we opened led to another room, each more terrifying than the last. In one room, we found a nursery, the walls covered in old, faded wallpaper. In the center stood a crib, and as we approached, we heard the soft cries of a baby. But when we looked inside, the crib was empty, the cries echoing from the walls. In another room, we found a library, its shelves filled with old books. As we entered, the books began to fly off the shelves, their pages forming into ghostly figures that reached out to grab us. We finally made it to the front door, but it wouldn't budge. We were trapped. The spirits closed in, their moans growing louder, their hands reaching out to claim us. In a last-ditch effort, I remembered the stories I had heard as a child. The spirits of Harrow House could be appeased with an offering. I reached into my bag and pulled out a bottle of wine we had brought. I poured it onto the ground, reciting an old rhyme my grandmother had taught me. The spirits paused, looking at the offering. Slowly, they began to fade, the fog lifting, the temperature returning to normal. We didn't waste any time, breaking a window and climbing out. As we made our way back to town, the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over Harrowville. We never spoke of that night again, each of us trying to forget the horrors we had witnessed. But every Halloween, I'm reminded of the truth. For as the sun sets and the shadows grow long, I can hear the soft, mournful melody of the piano, drifting on the wind, a reminder of the spirits of Harrow House and the night of terror we experienced.